This is Moneyline Mania with Chaz and the crew.
Our 81% handicappers are back. Wes, a.k.a. Worldwide Wes, and Mr. Wake and Bake himself, Chazzy Boy. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, I don't think Blackhawk Wes has given out a loser yet on Saturdays in Canada for the new season. Have you, Wes?
I don't think so. We've been pretty spot on. Canada, that's my best sport. There's nothing else going on. There's no other sports to distract. I don't have to decide between college and NFL. It's just straight Canada, north of the border.
Until next week.
So anyway, I have to send a shout out and thank you. I don't know who to, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I want to thank the person who created 420worldclock.com because what it does is it constantly tells you when it's going to be 420 again somewhere. And it really is great for Wake and Bake. So it's always 420 during Wake and Bake at one point. I haven't worked it into the show yet, but I will. But I am enjoying, not only are we learning about cannabis together, we're winning sports betting bets, but we're learning about geography because there's a lot of people that have never been to French Polynesia where it is going to be 420.
Not only 4:20 a.m., you got a 4:20 p.m. on the other coast.
They don't differentiate, man. 420 people, they know. If you've ever lived with somebody who's a stoner, that sound in the morning, the birds aren't up yet, right? So there's no chirping. You know the birds start just as the sun comes up, and you can tell what time of day it is. Right before that, for the guys that are working for a living, you hear the bong bubbles from the other room, taking a rip, and you can hear that, and you know right up. Joe's up. He's going to work. It's 5:30. And then like 30 minutes later, the birds get up.
Are you smoking today, Chaz?
I'm usually smoking days that end in Y.
You're crazy, man. I love it. We do this segment every single week. Moneyline Mania, these handicappers are the best in the country, and that's why we do it. So if you're a betting man and you're betting on anything, DraftKings, fantasy sports, or whatever you do, you got to listen to these guys. These guys are the best.
We do our best. We work hard at it. And I tell people all the time, these aren't plays that I'm giving out to give out to people. On my show, I don't even give out plays, right? I talk for an hour with handicappers from all over the world, not even country, but world, and I don't ever give out my plays. I give out an opinion or two, and I have a couple of those for sure.
We all know that.
And you remind everybody of the Chargers curse.
If I'm giving the plays out on this show, I'm betting it with my own Dockaroonies.
Your Dockaroonies and your Dockaroonies are usually right. So why don't we get to it as Chaz? Let's go through your picks of the week, and then we'll go through Wes's. Are you ready?
We're going to go chronologically for me because tonight, after we're off the air at 103.9, we got a couple college games left. We got North Texas and we've got UTEP, and then we have Vanderbilt and Hawaii. And I'm going to talk about the Vanderbilt and Hawaii game. What do we know about teams that go to Hawaii? They like it. They like going to Hawaii. Teams like going to Hawaii, and it has for years been, especially if it's at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season, it's been a death trap for favorites. So road favorites going into Hawaii don't do well. If you've been to Hawaii, you understand. If you haven't been to Hawaii, you really should go to Hawaii. That really would solve all our problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to look back at a couple things on the Easy Sports data, if anything jumps out at us in terms of those two games. The funniest part about it is when the games are on, the Degenerate Special, it's the last game of the day. And then you turn it on the TV and it's still sunlight over there, right? It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Hawaii. And here, there's only one guy working at the sports book. He's the closing, and he's the guy that's going to cash all the tickets for the next 2 hours.
It's the game where you've had a great day. It's like, let's do one more. And you start looking through it and you somehow find a way to justify it. And if you've had a bad day, you somehow decide that Hawaii's going to cover and save your life. It's the most bizarre things take place with that game.
I have some ideas on what I think this game is going to be. We know with Hawaii that at any point, any season, they could have the best quarterback in the country in terms of how many yards they throw because they really look like a Canadian football team. Now that I think about it, Arena are Canadian, more Canadian than Arena. Throw the ball all over the field, but Vanderbilt does cover. They cover games. They covered at the end of the year last year. They cover on the road in their last 2 years on the road. They are 7-2 against the spread, but they don't score. In their last 6 games on the road, they've not scored 24. They got 0, 24, 0, 20, 17, 21. So they haven't scored more than 24 points one time. I'm taking the points here. Hawaii's going to play to the very end of the game. Vandy might start slow. I don't normally take a lot of dogs, but if I take a dog, what's the one thing I also do, Black Hawk West?
You play a little bit on the money line, too.
Yes, always. And that one will be a nice one because a touchdown gets you 180. Last week I gave out a couple winners, and one of them was to the Jets. And I had the Giants and the Jets, and they both won. The Giants didn't cover, but I had some money line action on it. But I had Jets straight up, and they made it look easy getting points. I'm coming back with them again in the final game of the preseason, but I'm not betting for the game. I'm just betting them for the second half. And the reason is data says bet the Jets for the second half. And I'm a married guy. I do what my wife says, and I bet what the data says. And my life is pretty easy. Last game, Detroit and Pittsburgh. This is an 8 bets a game kind of world. Over on the all. So it's preseason. So we're going to have first half over, game over, and we will come back at the second half and bet it over again. They like to score points in the preseason. Why teams do what they do in the preseason? There's a lot of arguments. I just believe it's in their DNA. I believe it's the genetics of their ownership to the general manager to the coach, whatever they do, that's the way they handle it. And when you catch rides like we did with the Baltimore Ravens, where we've been winning on them for 4 years, everybody's talking about them this year. We have cashed every single game they have won for the last 4 years because they're 28-3, I think, against the spread in their last 31 preseason games.
Don't tell the Atlanta Falcons.
Betting against the Atlanta Falcons has also been very profitable. The Jets did that last week, right?
Yep, they did. And betting against the Yankees was very profitable for the month of August.
Chaz, the real question, are the Falcons 3-28 against the spread?
No, but they have a pretty bad... It's pretty easy to know when a team's got a bad record because we're creating reports, and these reports have columns, like any report has a column. But when they're all L's or they're all W's, they jump right off the page at you.
What you do and how you do it, it's pretty amazing when you go through your subjective picks throughout the week and then come to a winner and a loser. So I really appreciate some of your thoughts and some of your picks. Wes?
Last week on the show, I called out the North Texas. I just really like the running attack of North Texas. So pick 'em on North Texas is just too easy. The one that I'm going to go forward to is Thursday is West Virginia against Pittsburgh. Most people are looking at Pitt saying, oh, Kenny Pickett, he's in the NFL playing for the Steelers. I'm looking at a system that produced 41 points per game average and a transfer quarterback from USC who's got a little bit of seasoning, and he's going to step right into the system. The spread for the game is -7. I love betting team totals. So we're going Pittsburgh over 27.5 for the game. I believe that they have the potential to hang 4 touchdowns in the first half. I think the University of Pitt is going to show up. Slovis is going to be just a tremendous addition to the team. I don't know that they miss much by Pickett going pro. Slovis is that good. The other one that I'm looking at is Florida and Utah. I have no idea why the public is so hard hammering Utah. Open at +1 Utah. It's now -2.5 Utah. It's at Florida. Somehow the University of Utah is ranked 7 in the country. I truly don't know what I'm missing. Florida's got a new head coach. He's going to be inspired. I love the roster. Their size, just top to bottom, I cannot find where Utah has any edge over Florida. And oh, by the way, it's at the Swamp. So I'm taking Florida money line. I'm not taking the 2.5. I'm going money line, and I think Florida's going to smoke them. That's going to be the first top 10 that falls.
Did you guys see how much Julio Rodriguez got from the Mariners? $470 million for 14 years. Did you guys see that?
I did.
What's up with these deals? I understand that they want to hold on to their guys. They're signing 12, 14, 15 year contracts. I know it all works out to those numbers where he's making close to 25, 26 million. And I would take the money too. It's guaranteed. Think about it this way. You're a kid that comes from a very poor family, and then all of a sudden you get an offer worth about $470 million for the next 14 years. It's guaranteed money, and you set your family and your family's family and your family's family up very, very well for the future. It's crazy. It's crazy money that these guys are making.
Oh, it's definitely generational money. There's no doubt about it. But I think that you're seeing it now. Some of these teams are starting to change hands. They're just investing in the equity. If you own something, you look at the Cowboys. You own something that went up 30%. It was worth $6 billion to begin with. You just picked up 30%. Yeah, you might as well invest it in fixing up the house.
Being in KC, Patrick Mahomes, he owns a piece of almost every sports team here. He doesn't have an ownership piece in the Chiefs as of today. At some point, they're going to name the stadium after him. My son is going to go to Patrick Mahomes Elementary School. But he's got a piece of Sporting KC. He's got a piece of the Royals, and Brittany Mahomes, she's got an ownership piece in the women's soccer team that's coming. Once you get to a place of money, it's what can we own now?
That's the crazy thing, because I'm looking at these contracts, crazy money that you're seeing these guys make, but they deserve it. If they're as good as they are and they feel that they're worth it, you might as well take the money that is offered to you. So I'm sure he appreciates
now, whether
it.
you're worth it or not is a relative term. If somebody says sign here and it's got those numbers, you sign.
Numbers in baseball blow me away, though, because you look at ratings, you look at popularity, and you just look at what people are talking about, debating about. Baseball is not it versus some of the rest of the sports that are out there. I'm not knocking baseball fans. I'm just saying, top to bottom, blow me away. I remember when Pujols got his first $250 million, and that was almost a decade ago. The NFL is the most popular business on the planet, and Mahomes' contract was not that staggering if you compared it to some of these baseball contracts in 10 years ago and what the value of the dollar was back then. The baseball numbers, they have always been staggering to me.
Well, here's the thing also. Think about the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers is making $50 million a year. We see guys in the NBA now making $60 million a year. Damian Lillard from Portland is making $60 million a year. Eventually, we're going to see athletes making $100 million a year. It is crazy when you see the money that these guys are making, throwing a football, throwing a baseball, shooting a basketball. They come from families that nothing. Have you guys checked out the movie on Disney about Giannis and his family? It's a crazy story. They weren't even being accepted in Greece. They were a family that snuck into Greece and they couldn't get their visas over there. And then all of a sudden, just the luck of the draw, they put their names out there. He tries out for the NBA, or he tries out in front of scouts. The scouts in Spain didn't want to sign him, and it just so happens he picks an agent that said that I can get you further or maybe get you an opportunity, and it winds up that the NBA was interested in him. I mean, he gets into the draft, and they said if he doesn't get drafted in the top 16, he's going to be lost, and his family is going to be pushed out of Greece, and he might never play in the NBA or never play professional basketball ever in his career. The last pick, 16, he gets drafted by Milwaukee, and now he's the best player in the NBA. Figure that one out.
No doubt about it.
But that's sports. That's the beauty of sports.
You know, we're talking about baseball. They play 162 games. They're not making hardly any money a game compared to what the NBA makes a game. They 60 divided by 82 is $750,000.
Chaz,
So
Chaz.
The NBA, though, one player can change a team. We've seen LeBron do it. Forget about the GOAT argument. We've seen LeBron carry a bag of donuts to a championship. The NBA makes more sense than any sport. They're generating the same revenue, if not more, than some of the other sports, and it's a much smaller roster. In the NFL, the salary cap ain't changing. You get the same amount of money to spend no matter what. 50 mil to a quarterback. Who else are you signing? The Chiefs just had to let Tyreek Hill go. Green Bay, they couldn't afford Davante Adams.
You want to hear a crazy number? Garrett Cole, every time he throws a baseball, makes $30,000.
and you would think if a guy knew that, he would throw more balls, but he's still striking people out, man.
It's crazy. When you estimate the numbers, the games that he plays a year and the pitches that he pitches a game, he averages close to $30,000 a pitch.
Chaz, I'm not sure
crazy.
if that's how pitch sequencing and innings limits work.
They could talk to each other. So if you cut in, you hear the catcher saying, throw it over the plate. And he's going, you've been to my house. You see how much money my wife spends? I'm throwing 2 more balls. I need the money.
Chaz, just make sure you don't get caught with any kind of technological piece. Otherwise, you might get caught cheating like the Astros.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Trash can city,
he'll have
baby.
to be high before he cheats because he won't even remember it the next day.
I don't have enough passion in my life about anything that I would cheat at. When their kids were younger, I would sometimes cheat on them just to screw with their heads. But I'm still screwing with their heads, so at least I'm consistent.
Thanks, Wes. Wes is playing daddy tonight. His wife is over there in Indiana. She's a backup singer for the Phil Collins Experience. Shout out to Wes's wife, who's out there making money for the fam as he plays daddy at home with his son, Quinn. So shout out to Wes for joining us and giving us the time. Thank you, Chaz.
Always be cashing, guys.